Awesome. So I want to review together the issue 24.56. I think you have it open there, but I'm going to send here anyways.
Yep.
Which is
Perfect.
group environments, group production environments. I'm not sure exactly how we're calling this. And I updated the acceptance criteria. Let me also open here and share for, just for the sake of this recording, based on our latest discussion. So I don't expect that you're up to date with it because you were probably asleep when I did that earlier today. So yeah, this is about it. Dynamically populating the group environments page with production environments. And I saw some of your questions, Nathan, and let me just go down here quickly because I think it's nice to start with these pieces. About what are we showing and how we are grouping these things. So your question was, why are we interested in showing only production environments right now? And I replied here that because for the MVC, just production. I think we had a discussion where we would say, yeah, we show also the review environments at this page. But then as far as I understood, it's just production. That's why we go.
Okay. And that's I guess my question behind that was, is that because that's all that users really care about on the screen, that they only want to see production? Or did we think if we show everything, that's going to be way too much information, so let's only limit it to production?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think for the sake of MVC production, so we can deliver maybe a small thing that we can iterate on.
Yeah.
But also when looking at, let's say, the release and what they're interested in seeing and validating right now, it's really the production environment, right? Of course,
right.
Yeah, you have the review apps and then the review environments, the docs, but I think production is really the star.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And I'm totally fine with that. I just didn't want to, if it might be like a tiny bit more work to filter only production versus just showing everything. So I didn't want to like make more work for us if we were just trying to make less work. But if that's what the users want to see, that makes total sense to me.
Gotcha. I think it's a good, a valid point for us to discuss, as in if it's too much trouble to just filter the production, we can, I don't know, just have like what we have now in the project environments page, where you have, the expand and collapse for review for everything else. From my point of view, we wouldn't change so much, but I think it's really what we want to focus for the MVC.
Yeah, I think probably just filtering production is fine. I don't think it'll be that much more work. So I'm definitely okay with that.
Okay, cool. And then I looked into your comment here about how we are grouping them, or how we would group these environments. And I think my understanding, and I have a question for you there. My understanding is that we're going to get the URL, right? The dynamic URL for these environments. We say, okay, if they all share, I don't know, something.gitlab.com, they're going to show in that one group, regardless if it's, and also if it's under production, right? There's two filters there.
Yes, right.
And I saw in your comment here that you added group. And I want to understand if this is like a new suggestion or if you already have this type of setup in the CI file.
Yeah, so that was just a suggestion. That's not currently part of it. Okay. And my thought with that is that I don't know if people are already using this URL for things and they wouldn't want to actually group by it. And if so, I was saying we could add another key, for example, group, to add a grouping mechanism. But I don't think we should go that route to begin with. I think just grouping by URL makes sense to me, especially for the MVC. So I think just doing that is a good first step.
Okay, that's cool. I was a bit confused because I'm not super familiar with all the structure, and I thought that we already had something as in the group. Because when I was first working on the MVC, this is at the epic level, right? And then I put here two examples. So we have project 1, that could be, for example, pajamas and project
Mm-hmm.
that was GitLab UI, and they both have the same URL, let's say, whatever,
Right, right.
.com. So this is what would show at the group level, right? In this case, it's review,
Mm.
but let's say that it's production. Um,
Yeah, that's actually a good example because I hadn't really considered, I forgot that you can build the URL dynamically with
mhm,
variables. Um, we might need to get in touch with a backend person to see how that would work, to see if those would actually be grouped together or if those would be considered different because
mhm.
they'll be different once the variables been interpolated.
Okay.
So that might be a good example. But either way, that was kind of my thought is that we'd group by URL.
Mhm. Okay. I think Sean is going to be working this, so
Mm-hmm.
let's open him here because I also wanted to give the example in the MVC because now it's at the epic level, and I know that having too many source of truth and too many explanations on how we're going to do that. So I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So let me add just a note here. Um, Reveal with Sean. And then the third point, when I was reading your comment, I was like, pagination. Because you mentioned of showing, I don't know, multiple environments. Um,
Yeah.
and I think we can follow the same pattern that we have now, like 20 items and then you paginate. Since if we only
Mm-hmm.
do production, but if we do production plus, then maybe we can just reuse the current pattern from the environments page. I'll go back here where you have like a little more. I don't love it,
Right.
but yeah, show
And,
all.
oh, yeah. Okay. Right. And I don't actually know how the pagination works on this page. Like, is it 20 items in total, including inside the folders, or is it 20 items and a folder counts as one item?
The folder counts as
That,
one item. That's why there's no pagination like global
okay.
or pagination.
Right.
Um, which I think if we go only with production, I don't think we should use the show all. I think we should be just like, everything that is under production for GitLab,
Yeah.
the project associated
Yep.
there. But if we make more complex, I think we're gonna have to either reuse this pattern or reevaluate the whole thing because it's not gonna be easy
Yeah.
going forward.
I like the idea of keeping this page and the other page a similar experience because
Mhm.
ideally you're familiar with one and it just feels like basically the same page at the
Yeah.
group level.
Yeah. So let me show you my prototypes because then we can critique in here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me also give you, I think you're already here. Already here? Is that you? Anonymous?
Oh yeah, I'm already looking at it. Yeah, one annoying thing about Figma is if you're not logged in, there's this big banner that shows at the top. There's no way to dismiss it.
Oh,
So
but you have an account because I asked last
I
time.
probably do.
Yeah. Because Jake
Okay.
has one, and then I'm allowed to share things with Jake. So maybe you have to
Okay.
create this and log in.
I maybe need to figure out how to log
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me quickly go over here then. Just tell you exactly what I have in the issue. Let me go back quickly. Okay. So this is the flow for the acceptance criteria, right? For what I detailed here.
Mm-hmm.
So in the group level, we're gonna add a side menu item for operations. I think actually the configure team is already working on something similar. So we need to check if they're already going to deliver before we do. But anyways, we have operations, and once you click, you have group environments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling group environments for now, and I want to get Jackie's feedback here because in a
Yeah.
way it's not environments per se because we don't have really a code base at the group level. So I want to somehow make
Yeah.
that clear. And then if you have nothing, let's say you don't really have any production, so it's an empty state, we're going to need an
Mm-hmm.
illustration here. So I think we can the first pass we go without an illustration, just static text, and then I open an issue in the GitLab design because this needs approval and it might take,
Mm-hmm.
a while. So for now, you cannot create anything at the group level. It's really empty state, some copy, there's a placeholder, and click more information, you go to the docs.
Yeah. We could even include some in that page. You could say group environments are like include more instructions in there so that they wouldn't have to necessarily jump to the documentation. Like environments that are production environments will come here automatically and are grouped by URL or something, just like some little snippet to help them not have to go to the docs. But up to you.
I agree with you. I was a bit like, okay, how do you explain how this thing is without making it too complicated?
Right.
But I agree. It would be nice to give some more context about what's going to happen here once you have, right? Production.
Yeah. And how to make things show up since you can't add them directly.
Yeah, awesome. So if you don't have anything, empty state, but if you do have some items, we pre-populate with this data. So there's a lot on this page. Let me go step by step, like data description. So everything is grouped under production. So we show the title, production here, and a counter of how many environments there are. Which in a way would be the counter of projects, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, right. I was wondering if is that kind of the top level folder, or would it be the individual environments inside each folder?
Yeah, so this would be the top level folder, because we don't really have anything, anything other than production. It's kind of like a static. So right now, if I go back to the environments view here, right? So instead of showing just this information, we show the project where, I don't know, release comes from. But the only extra thing here is the project detail, which is the avatar and the name. So you click, you go to the project overview, and all the other things are the same. So deployment, you hover here, you have all the information. You can click and go to the commit details, and also you can see each individual deployment.
Nice.
You can also click the eye and see the detail of the deployment, which would be a page like this. And also, if you don't have deployments, it's the same thing as today. We have today, just no deployments yet, and paginates. And the only, I think the big thing here is that because everything deploys to a single URL, then we have this button here for view deployment. And I just added the URL so that users know that, hey, this is actually where it's going to be displayed.
Nice.
Some visual aid. And that's pretty much it at this point.
Cool. That looks nice.
Yeah, I was a bit like, okay, do we need to add more context here? Explain what's going on for first-time users. But what do you think, Nathan, from what you see here?
I think the fact that we're mirroring the regular environments page so closely, because of that, we don't have to give too much extra context, because anyone that's using this page will already be familiar with the regular page. So I think we can kind of rely on their knowledge of that page. That's my thought.
And at this point, you cannot really do anything other than seeing the deployments and seeing the details of the environments. But I think once we have like the ability to create group environments at this level, or I don't know, stop deployment, roll back things, this view or approve a release, I think we're going to shape this view to be something,
I can see us taking. I can see us taking actions against the whole environment, like rolling back all the sub projects at the group level. So I could see that being useful.
Yeah, we have an issue for that. So Jackie opened just a placeholder so that we can start discussing.
Nice.
So that's it for this page, and the next one we just where all the tooltips are going to appear.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah,
perfect.
Because I was like, I'm not going to write this. I'm just going to put everything.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
And then there's a couple of differences here from what we have at this level. Because, let me go back actually. Not everything has the correct hover applied, like the colors, etc.
Okay, great.
So don't bother even looking at the current one. But then,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just the hover states.
Nice.
I'm just not
Cool.
entirely sure about the eye icon because we use this icon for like private issues.
Mm.
I mean, privately called.
Isn't it an I with a cross through it? Doesn't that
Yeah,
mean
and if the issue is
confidential or
not
something?
if the issue is not private, we show this icon. But I wanted something just that could
Right.
communicate, like view the details, But
Yeah.
we normally use text for that, and I didn't want to use more text on
Right. Right.
this UI.
Yeah. That that button to me almost would make me think I'm going to go jump to the actually live environment. Like I'm going to go view the
Yeah.
deployed thing. But I guess we are using that other kind of square with the, oh, you can see my cursor, can you? Good.
Yeah.
That one there.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of consistent with that one. And so maybe people will kind of know that's the
Mm-hmm.
button to jump to the actual environment.
Yeah. I think initially I had the like the engine button, it's like for settings or details, but you can already
Mm,
configure anything in the details
yeah,
of this environment. Yeah.
right.
I think we can go with this for now, and then I'll ask feedback from other designers and see how we can improve.
Sure.
But it's such a small thing that we can review in the merge request.
Yeah, right. Is there an environment icon? Like, do we have an icon that means environment?
That's a good question. We use this for operations. I have no idea.
I don't think we do. I don't remember seeing one.
Let me check here. Sometimes I do. No. Oh,
Oh,
apparently we do. So maybe I can use this here.
because you could maybe use that one.
Okay. Good catch. Good suggestion.
I have never seen that one before, so I wouldn't know what that means, but maybe we will be the first.
The people are just lost. I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. I think this is from the new pack, the new item pack.
Okay, nice.
And
It's a cool looking icon.
I really like Figma because you can just throw something in the button and then you just adjust the size
Oh
automatically.
yeah, that's awesome.
The content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't know what this means, but if we have a new icon for that, and if it's in the SVG, we can use it. If not,
Yeah.
we create a next step or whatever later.
Yeah. Right.
That's
That's cool.
yeah.
So overall, this looks super good to me. I do a couple minor questions. When you say production here, where does this name come from?
I think it
Because
will
right
be
now,
static for now.
sorry, what was that? I missed that.
I think it will be a static title for now because since we only support production, so
Okay, but where would the user enter that, or is that always, or
so
it'll just always say production?
let me show you. Here's where you would enter. But when we create a new environment,
New.
um, or maybe if we
Because right
say,
now we're not.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So right now we're not. I think our idea was to not use a new page like this, and instead to
Mhm.
just dynamically create them.
Yeah,
So there's not really any opportunity for the user to enter a name.
no. So this would be phase two, but kind of like related to the comments that you made here, where if you can say that it populates from the URL and
Hmm.
the name is production, maybe we can use this name and make a match, or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is that my understanding is that we're filtering by production. So everything on this page, kind of by definition, will have production
Yeah.
as its name. And then there might be some that have different URLs. So we don't want to group those.
No.
So that would mean like basically everything would be named production. So I guess what I'm wondering is that if we should replace that production name with just the URL.
Oh, I see what
because
you mean.
that's the only piece of information we really have at the moment.
Like this, production, not GitLab.com.
Exactly.
I'm showing this here.
Yep. Yep.
Makes sense.
And then that's the kind of the grouping mechanism.
Yeah, otherwise, gets too complicated.
Yep.
Well, and then maybe later, if we say that, yeah, we are organizing this by both environment name and URL, if you want to filter that and have this,
Yeah.
this
Right.
yeah, production, GitLab.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
That's cool.
And do you like in the GitLab YAML, it has a protocol, so it's just HTTPS. We can definitely chop that off for display purposes, like that if you'd like that. Otherwise, we can also just spit it in there as is, whichever you think.
That's fine.
Whichever you
I
prefer.
think, what do you think of making this clickable? Or is it too much?
Yeah, it could be.
This is actually a title. This is actually an H3.
It would do the same thing as the view deployment button there, right?
Yeah. Let's leave it on the view deploy button, because later on, if you want to expand and have like the expand collapse, we cannot have that lead.
Right. That's a good point.
No. Then maybe,
cool. Yeah, I like to look at that. Let's see. If the other very minor comment, I don't know if we're going to use GraphQL for this page, which I don't know if we've decided yet. But if so, we probably won't be able to use this style pagination, similar to the discussion we were having about the releases page. It'll probably just need to be previous next.
Awesome. Oh, and another thing I put in the acceptance criteria that we would use a table component, just because we have titles, headers for this list.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure how ready the table component is.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, I'll have to look at if we want to eventually expand and collapse, like you mentioned. I don't know if that's going to be compatible with the table component.
Because everything that we ship now needs to be pajamas ready. So if we say that, yeah, we're going to need to fix something for tables, that's a completely different story. Let me just find the components. But it's not even epic. Okay. Table. My goodness. Can someone fix this? Okay. Yeah. I don't think it's integrated.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we have some kind of component already implemented, but maybe it's not pajamas compliant.
Yeah, I just don't think it's production ready.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really a simple table. So maybe if you can look into it and see that, yeah, we will just use the same list type thingy. Because I'm not sure exactly what component other than the table we could use to get this thing.
Well, I think we're really not doing anything super fancy with regard to the table. Like we're not filtering or sorting or anything.
No.
So I actually think that component we have now will work.
And if it's not responsive, we can just open an issue later and then tackle the response in the second phase. Because I think the only thing that will make this table a bit more smart is that things need to be ordered by last updated. That's it. Other than that, it's pretty static.
And will we do that? How will we go about triggering that sort change?
We don't. Not for now.
Okay.
Because I don't think you can even sort with this table. Can you?
No, I don't think so. I was just looking at that right now.
Yeah. I
See
think
if I could. I don't think you can.
no, you need to use the sorting components that it's like external and then apply with the list.
Right.
Let's not go there.
Okay.
We can iterate. Because
Cool.
if you say that, you know, since it's auto-populated anyways, and it's always just like the deployment in the project level where things are ordered, you know, by, less updated.
Okay.
So we can follow this. Yeah, exactly, everything.
So ordered by most recently updated to least to last updated.
Yeah.
And then if they don't have any deployments, probably just alphabetical, I guess.
Yes. So let me add this to the acceptance criteria. In fact, environments should be ordered by last updated. Right? Okay, I'll just put that for now. Okay.
So last question, I guess, this pagination here, if I would click next, let's say I have more than one URL. So I have production.gitlab.com and I have production.gitlabui.com, or I don't know, some different top level, like kind of folders. Does this paginate within a single one of these lists, or is it kind of just the top level? If you know, I don't know if I'm not explaining that very well.
I think I understand as if similar to what we have here, right? If you have more things at the
right.
Oops, my God, what happened?
Yes, that actually jumps into that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest, this navigation. I would expect it to load more within the same view so that if I still want to see my review docs or production output. If I had to teach this, I would suggest maybe for the future, let's say that here under GitLab docs, you have multiple, let's say that, not GitLab docs, but one of these is a review, right? Let me review.gitlab.com, for example. And then you have a sub, right? Whatever. You have something here. And you have pagination, right? But then you have
well, that.
But you want
will that have a? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that you always will have. Oh no, that's true. You can have like multiple. Under review. And then if we follow the same logic that we have right now, it will be something like view more, or will be more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you click here, for example, 2, you will go to the next page with, with the per, like, last year. Okay, I'm also confused.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was. My guess is that pagination actually won't be a huge issue in this case, because if we're only showing a production environment, like we're pretty heavily filtering this down. So I can't imagine people would have 30 different projects that all are considered production under the same URL. So we could probably even get by without doing any pagination to start, and then add in pagination once we kind of figure out how and where to add it. I think that's why the current environments page has that kind of weird show more system, is because we're kind of showing 2 levels of things here. And so it's not clear which level we're paginating against. And I think in the environments page, it paginates against the top level. So the review folder is one, and then the next folder is another item. So we're actually paginating through those folders.
Yeah. Because in the future, I'm just thinking of how, if we limit the number of items we see here, same way as they do in this view, right? It's a max of 3 environments. In our case, it will be 3 projects. Let's say that we have same thing, we replicate this interaction. What I'm thinking right now is that in the future, if you're a release manager and you want to have the ability to not just roll back or redeploy or stop these environments, but you also have approvals. So not showing like the at a glance like environments or product or deployments that are pending approval would be kind of weird. But I think we can solve some of these problems later on with the filtering and sorting. You know, you can say show only production, show only review, and then you paginate against those things in the list. And then or instead of being like a bucket for production, it's like production is a column, you know.
Right.
So
okay.
So you can, in a way, decide how you want this this view to be like.
Yeah. So I guess for the MVC, based on these UX mockups, I would say we're paginating at the top level. So like production.gitlab.com is one item. And if we had 20 of those or 21 of those, I guess, then the pagination would show. And then we're not paginating the sub, the second level. We're just showing everything.
We can just use the
that
current pattern and then we'll see how people react.
Yep.
Because I think also it would be nice to have a plan or at least have a proposal. We can test this against some users of, you know, if we had, if we're going to support more different environments. But then it would be weird to just apply this to the group level view. Maybe we can already talk to PMs to have a plan to clean up the other page as well, the project level page.
Yeah.
But that's future. I'm happy with this view. That's cool.
Yeah. Overall, this looks really good to me. I think this is a nice feature because it's like we can just follow so many patterns.
Yeah.
So it should be relatively straightforward to develop.
Oh, and another thing I was thinking, the loading of this page. Should we use the one that from this view?
Just a spinner.
The standard, and then maybe we can do a UI polish later to just create a skeleton loader.
Sure. Yep. That sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just quickly add.
Yeah, it's not too much different from a development point of view, one or the other. The main thing is just coming up with the SVG to use as the placeholder for the skeleton.
Yeah, the only difference is that if I'd rather just use the one we have now to not create more UX debt. Because I still have to tackle the one for the release page, and that needs to go through approval with the UX team. So I'm actually doing it this milestone. So we can have it as a separate issue.
Yeah, and as I was looking more in that, this is kind of a tangent, but the docs about the skeleton loader do mention that it's for progressively loading content, which we're not really progressively loading anything. We're loading everything at once. So maybe it doesn't make sense to do progressive loading like a skeleton loader here. So
yeah, I think that was a recent update, and also I've seen other teams using different skeleton loaders. They are also using it for graphs and dashboards. I've seen some design proposals there, but it's not very consistent where we're using them. So it's a bit of a mess right now. That's why I always push like, let's not do it. Because I know it's gonna look different from what we have in other pages.
Right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm making the updates to the issue description, but I think the current prototypes are ready to be posted there.
Sounds good.
And the only thing that will still be out of scope is the empty states illustration. So I'm gonna mention there that we go with the text only for the MVC.
Sure. Oh, you know what? One more question for you. You commented on this issue earlier today about, you mentioned for now this MVC would not allow users to access a single URL as application. What is that? I don't know if I fully understood that comment.
Yeah, let me share the screen again. Yeah, because on Jackie's initial proposal, this one, let me save my comments. On her initial proposal was just about populating the page. But then we are grouping these environments because we want to provide the users with, our customers with the URL so that they can show to their end users, right? So, or the marketing or whoever. This is the URL, the production URL for GitLab. Everything goes into this one thing. But there was nothing in this issue that really said, at least in Jackie's initial proposal, that say we're going to show the URL where this everything is deployed at the same time. So to the UI, that translates as this button here.
Okay.
The view deployment.
Yep.
And I think that if Sean comes back and say, yeah, too much for the MVC, we just remove this and show each single deployment here.
Yeah. I can't imagine that would be an issue because that's how we're going to be grouping it anyway. So we're going to need that information regardless. So I can't imagine it'd be too much more work to throw it to the front end, but that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure because I didn't really see, there was some discussion at the Epic level about this, but no real decisions made. Days ago here, where Sean was talking about what the future state looks like, but I didn't see like, here's how we are going to do it. So
I feel like since our last meeting, we decided, I don't know, maybe Sean can confirm, but I think we decided not to restructure how things are associated as he was proposing, and instead just kind of use the existing structure and just make things visible on that page. So that diagram might not be relevant anymore.
So I was a bit confused. Like, looking at this, I was like, okay, does this mean that is future MVC or is future like in a couple of months from now?
Like after the MVC, yeah.
Because if so, then you just provide these environments that are grouped by URL at the group level, that they share the same URL at the group level. And then you can see, okay, for all these things, here's how it would look like against production. But you don't really have this. Unless this backend can deliver this one single URL.
Yeah. I'd probably leave it there, and then if Sean says, oh, we can't do that, then we can take it off. But I think it makes sense to leave there for now.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, the one thing we should follow up with Sean about is a dynamic URL when it has a variable in it, how we're going to handle that. And how we're going to, if we group in that case.
Just this comment.
Do you want me to ask him about that, or do you want to follow up?
I'm going to post here, but if you can follow up with him in details because you know the technicalities, that'll be cool.
Sure.
And I'm just I'll post this comment here just as a reminder. I think that's it. That's maybe
awesome.
The most relevant thing.
Yeah, this looks great.
Awesome. Stop sharing. Cool. So next steps for me, I'll publish this to the issue, and then I'll check with configure if they're doing the operations menu. I know they are.
Right.
I see the link this morning actually about it.
So
let me see. Actually, it's this one. So I'm not super familiar with it yet. It's in the backlog. So I think you can just get in touch with them. 13.5.
Okay. Interesting. So they're adjusting it at the project level.
Yeah, and you can also see this one where Dimitri talks about having a releases menu at the project level.
Right. Interesting. And they're using that icon there.
Yeah.
The environments icon.
Yeah. But in my proposal, I'm putting everything under operations. So let me actually share my screen here. Because I'm working on the 3-year prototypes for releases, and I'm adding everything. Share here. This is work in progress. So this would be like group environment, you know. And oh yeah, so okay, here's a good example. This is how I was doing for the vision thing. You see production, and then you can expand collapse, and then you have review docs, um, similar to what we have here. So this is a different prototype. We're not implementing
Cool.
this, it's just for marketing. But then you can see here in the side menu, I'm just putting everything under operations.
Right, right. Nice.
Yeah, but for now, we're just gonna have environments, or group environments.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how the configure teams decides, because they're really doing investigations. But yeah, you have to
Nice.
make things.
Cool. That's great.
Thank you so much, Nathan. I'm gonna push the prototypes and I'll leave a comment for Sham, but if you can follow up with him, that's super cool. And then I'll
Yep.
update the prototype simulation.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Cool. See you later.
Great. Thanks so much. All right. See ya.